never been, to leave my comfort zone, arise and follow him.
Like Abraham and Moses, choosing to obey. And I am confident as I take this step of faith. He goes before me. I will not be afraid. In the midst of darkness, Jehovah lights my way. In the power of his might, I can face my enemies. I will leave my fears behind.
Leave my fears behind.
He goes before me.
If I need a mountain moved and cast into the sea, well, that's just what he will do. If I stand still and believe,
I'll let him part the water.
open every door, 'cause
What is best for me is what he has in store. He goes before me. I will not be afraid. In the midst of darkness, Jehovah lights my way. In the power of his might, I can face my enemies. I will leave my fears behind.
Leave my fears behind.
He goes before me. Through the desert or green pastures, the fire and the rain, the flood or peaceful waters, the joy and the pain. He goes before me. I will not be afraid. In the midst of darkness, Jehovah lights my way. In the power of his might, I can face my enemies. I will leave my fears behind.
Leave my fears behind.
He goes before me. He goes before me.
He goes before me.
He goes before me. Well, good evening. I want to welcome you to our second summer Wednesday night premiere. I hope you're having a good time with your family this evening, as that's kind of our emphasis. Last time we met, the backdrop was the Vest family. Elizabeth was getting married, and we talked about God our Master from Deuteronomy chapter number 31. Well, we're going to look at Deuteronomy chapter 31 again, and tonight we're going to talk about God and good music. And the Deuteronomy 31, it gives us one of three of songs that God had Moses pen down. They're called the Songs of Moses. And interestingly enough, if you look at Exodus chapter 15, Deuteronomy chapter 32, and then Psalm 90, those are the three songs or poems that Moses penned down. And it's interesting, the very first song in the Bible, Exodus 15, that Moses was inspired of God to write down, will also be one that is sung in heaven. Revelation chapter 15 says this, listen to this. Revelation 15:3, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. Two songs we're going to be singing right out of the gate there in heaven is the song of the Lamb and the song of Moses. So right before they go into the promised land, God is going to have Moses compose this song that is going to be a staunch reminder that if they ever get away from the Lord, if they think about this song, it's going to help them get their eyes back on the Lord. I'm reading from Deuteronomy 31, verses 16 through 21. It says, And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up and go whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whither they go to be among them, and will forsake me and break my covenant which I have made with them. So God already knows, I know what's going to happen. You're going to get out there and you're going to turn your back. You're going to struggle. You're going to be backslidden. He says, Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them. I will hide my face from them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, Are not these evils come upon us, because our God is not among us? Bible says in verse 18, and I will surely hide my face in that day from all the evils which they have wrought, in that they are turned unto other gods. Now therefore write ye this song for you, and teach it the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths, that this song may be a witness for me against the children of Israel. And he's going to go on and say, this song is going to be a witness to remind you of the good things that I've done. And Lord willing, this song will be used as a testimony for the Lord, but also hopefully to bring people back. So last time we talked about God our Master. Tonight we're talking about good music. And there's nothing like good music. God to Moses, write a song, teach it to your children. It's something that I want you to leave behind before you leave this earth. And the Bible calls it a song of witness. And I want to challenge all of our church families, all of our moms and dads, all of you. I want to challenge you to leave behind a legacy of good music. You know, one of the things that we have at Grace Baptist Church, we have WBLW. And we're so blessed and fortunate to have it, not just in our town, but springing out of our church as a ministry. It's a ministry that God has really touched and blessed. But good music will do this. It'll assist you, assist me and our families in raising good children and cultivating, let me say this, a good spirit. You remember David and Saul? Saul had that evil spirit from the Lord. He was troubled, but it was David's music, David's godly music, that ministered to his heart. You know, my wife, she can be embarrassed I say this, my wife is always humming. Always humming. As a matter of fact, I think there's a store in town. She was doing something. She goes, oh, you're the lady that's always humming. You know, it's good to have a song in your heart. And let the Lord minister to you through good music. And let me tell you this, there's plenty of good music to choose from. So when I was a junior higher, I've chosen this location for a particular reason. When I was a junior higher, right down the road off to my left, you see that telephone pole. In between these two telephone poles here, there is, it kind of veers off to the left. That's where we moved when I was a freshman in high school, right down the road. It's a really nice piece of property, a beautiful home. They still live there today. As a matter of fact, right now Jack's hanging out there with Grandma and Grandpa. But we moved here when I was a freshman in high school. Now, this dirt road that I'm standing on was not maintained by the county. So what that meant was in the spring, well, my stepdad would plow here and everything, but in the spring, we didn't have the right gravel and the water wouldn't run off. It just turned into an absolute muddy mess. So right over in this area, we'd have to park our cars. I had, some of you might remember, I had that 1980 Ford Blue Mustang. My mom had a brown minivan, one of the original minivans. We had to park all our cars out here because if we didn't have four-wheel drive, there was no way we could get to the house. And so for a handful of weeks, we'd have to park here, put on our boots and such, walk through the woods, uphill both ways, walk through the woods, and that's what we would do. As a matter of fact, the story many of you heard me tell, first Bible I got from Larry, what had happened was I came through the woods, I was going to church, I put my Bible on top of my car, took my boots off, put my nice shoes on, hopped in the car, drove down, turned on Old State Road, got down about almost to the state park on Old 27 and realized I left my Bible on top of my car. I remember rolling the window down, like just hoping a prayer, and I put my hand up there just wondering if it would be there. It wasn't there. I came back and there's a big mud puddle, and here's my Bible, the very first Bible I had, Larry Cook gave me, lying face down in the mud. That happened right here. But another thing happened right here. I was given my very first Christian tape. Now look, those of you that are younger, I grew up in the 80s, early 90s, so this would have been 19 years old, so about 92, 93. And I'm going to church, and someone had given me a tape. It was a tape of Gold City, and I loved it. I loved it. Listened to it over and over and over, and it had the Midnight Cry. He reached out his hand for me. I'm not giving up. It was a live taping, and it was during that transition. I was bouncing back and forth from the world's music and Christian music. One day I got home, I drove here, no one was at home. It was a Saturday. I got done working at Golden Auto, and I had all this music that I had boxed up. And sometimes I'd listen to Christian music, sometimes I'd listen to the other music. I thought, you know what, I'm done with this, going back and forth. Hopped on the four-wheeler, strapped all my music on it, drove way out here in the woods, and just got rid of it. And what helped me is a lot of good Christian music ministered to my heart. Sometimes it's convicting, sometimes it's worship, But I'll tell you this, recently a church member shared with me the live song of Thank God for the Blood by Charity Gale. And I don't know much about her, but I've wept during that song. I've worshiped through that song and shared it with many of you also. But like many of you, I love Christian music. There's lots of hope, there's help, there's ministering. From the old hymns to some of the more modern, even contemporary type styles, I find that a good song can minister to your heart. So I want to challenge you. The Bible says that we're to speak to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart. You want to prepare for the promised land, for what God has for you? Get around and surround yourself by good music. We see our great God and we see good music. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of our Wednesday night premiere.